There are a lot of asterisks that come with talking about this game. Carolina, it's game two. Carolina, they look like the absolute dark horse against Washington in the first two games. Then it went to Raleigh. Carolina won two, and they ended up winning the series. Like, that's happened before. Look at Dallas against Vegas. Dallas looked done, and Dallas was in a tougher situation because they were going back home. So it's all what I'm about to say. There's a giant asterisk to all of it. Um, and at the end of the day, the Canes played amazing tonight, but it's just they came out. They almost did everything right. I'll start from the beginning, from what I can remember, because I'm recording this at 11:30. It was 4 hours ago, and I've watched a lot of hockey. I'm not even gonna watch the Avalanche Dallas game tonight. I'm just devastated. Um, It started with. Why am I blanking? Is my dog might? No, he's gonna go lay down. Canes, they got off to a hot start, but on the power play, the Rangers scored. And the special teams were a theme for this game, but yeah, there we go. Alexis Lafreniere scored in the first from Keandre Miller-Wennberg, and then Carolina came back. Jake Gensel doing what we brought him to do. He came back and scored later in the period. Tied the game up 1-1. And, one thing is, it looked like Carolina was going to get goalied. It did. And you know what? A lot of people will call it a dirty play. Would it piss me off if I was cheering for the Rangers or weren't a Canes fan? Absolutely. I love the fact that Svechnikov gave the goalie a little love check. He didn't light him up. He didn't try to injure him. He's just like, all right, contact, boom, cry. I loved that play. Amazing effort all around. I love that play. It got in Igor's head because Carolina scored 2 goals in that period. Both redirections. Jake Gensel doing what we signed him to do. Dmitry Orlov, who I thought had a weak overtime. Once we got into overtime, I thought Orlov just got gassed, but he played well for the first 3 periods. The real meat of what you expect to play. And then, Alexis Lafreniere scored to tie the game on the power play. Carolina takes the lead. And then, no, they didn't score on the power play. But Chris Kreider ties the game. Here's the thing. This is why I say a blown call by the referee is a blown call by the referee. Because Carolina, I hate talking about this game and trying to relive it right now. But Carolina, Orlov takes a penalty. I thought it was a bad call. There were other bad calls where Carolina actually killed off the penalty. I thought Fox took a dive. People have been calling out Carolina for diving. Well, Rangers fans can't because a lot of their plays were dives. Orlov got a penalty for what is basically a hit. He got called tripping for a hip check. It was a bullshit call, but you got to play through it. Canes did not lose this game because of the refs. Their power play sucked. Chris Kreider scores, ties the game, and then of course Kevin Durant, Trocheck, I should say. He scores the game winner, and again on the power play. And this was after Carolina had a power play. And it's the same thing every year with the special teams. Since I would say when they played Tampa Bay in the second pandemic playoff season. Since then, it's always been, man, our power play needs to get better. And this year they had the number 2 power play. And in overtime, they didn't drive to the net. We talk about, Kreider's goal was because they were once again, I called this out in game 1, they were too aggressive on the penalty kill. And the Rangers have a good enough, being aggressive on the power play can work. It can work probably against some great power plays. But when you're facing a power play as good as the New York Rangers, or not just as good as the New York Rangers, the way the Rangers operate on the power play, they have the aggressive power play scouted. Clearly, stop doing the aggressive penalty kill. You got to adapt. You got to structure your penalty kill and power play around the team you're playing, not the NHL as a whole. Because if you have a bad night on the power play, the team knows what they're doing is working. They're going to keep doing it. It's the same thing when Marc-Andre Fleury had an amazing playoff run. Vegas didn't adjust their defensive structure to the cross creases that Washington was doing. You have to adapt to what the other team is doing. Carolina on the power play, forcing a team to the outside to eventually hit a cross seam pass in the slot can work, not against the Rangers penalty kill. They have that scouted. What you got to do is you got to drive to the net. Carolina had a lot of scoring chances because they were driving to the net. Tavares scored a goal, an overtime goal, all because he drove to the net and Matthew Nyes picked up the puck. Drive to the freaking net. It's not that hard. And then you follow it up after, the drive to net on the penalty kill. They get scored on again because they failed to score on the power play. They didn't lose this game because of the ref, even though Trocheck, cross checks are not a penalty in hockey in overtime until apparently they are. But it doesn't matter because you play through it. Carolina, they could have scored. They didn't play through it. Rangers come back and score, and of course, it had to be Kevin Durant. I mean, Vincent Trocheck. It is just, and then, another thing. Score a goal on an elite goalie. The offense was there. Let's look at the Canes' 3 goals once again. Because, like, we signed Gensel to score goals. He can't do it by himself. He scored the first goal. Orlov scored one from Shea and Aho. And then Jake Gensel scored again from Aho and D'Angelo. I thought Svechnikov had a point. But Svechnikov had an assist on the other Jake Gensel goal. Of the forwards, it was only the first line. Like, just because we got Gensel doesn't mean he's the only person that can score goals in the playoffs to win a playoff series. Natchez, Kotkaniemi, Jordan Stahl's a defensive forward. Martinook doesn't score goals. Jarvis. Has Jarvis scored a goal in the series? I'm actually going to look. Jacob Slavin from Aho and Gensel. Once again, first line. Martin Natchez, he has a point, so does Martinook. And Jarvis does have a goal. But from Aho, it is truly just the first line. Okay, Jarvis is producing. They're not really producing. But in overtime, if, you have to have depth scoring. It's not going to be the stars all the time. And Carolina doesn't have it right now. And HS, I think, is getting better at playoff hockey, but it's just they bring in a guy, they trade some of their sandpaper, and to Carolina's credit, there were some really good things tonight. Rangers are one of the toughest teams in the league. They have Matt Rempe, they have Jacob Trouba, they have a lot of big guys. Those two guys alone make a team instantly tougher, and Carolina went toe-to-toe with them. Jack Drury, he shoved Matt Rempe to the ground when Matt Rempe tried to retaliate, and Carolina at points in this game were out agitating a team full of agitators. There are good things there, but the problem is, even with the good things, it's the same old shit. Goaltending, 2020, 2019, it wasn't goaltending. Carolina was a team that's young core and Aho, Svech, and Slavin, and at the time, Dougie Hamilton, and those guys were coming into power. Okay, so 2019 mulligan in terms of, all right, upset Washington, amazing playoff series. Next round, sweep the Islanders in really dramatic fashion. It's like, whoa, okay, what's this? This team could be something. And then 2019, it doesn't matter. It's like they couldn't. I remember Game 3 in particular, they weren't shooting the puck. At the end of the day, overachieving team. 2020, sweep the Rangers. Apparently, the only feels good to say. Sweep the Rangers in 3, and then run into Tuukka Rask. 2021, win the first round against Nashville in what really is a series that should have ended earlier than it did, especially where Nashville was at the time. But they beat Nashville. Doesn't matter how pretty it looks, you get through. And then you get goalie by Vasilevsky. And Vasilevsky, to his credit, I know, the best goalie I've seen play hockey. He's past his prime now, but Vasilevsky in his prime is, in my opinion, better than Carey Price, better than Henrik Lundqvist. He's the best goalie since the era of goalies where it was Brodeur, Raw, and Hasek. Okay, so yeah, 2021, Vasilevsky on a team going back to back. 2022, Rangers, Shesterkin. 2023, 2022, it looks like they could do something. Play the Islanders, eliminate the Islanders in 6, kind of a similar thing, and then lose to the Rangers. And no, 2022 is Boston. They overcome Boston. Boston was a tough team for Carolina. They overcome them in 7, do not get out of against Boston easier, and then they run into Igor Shesterkin. 2023. Who did they beat in the first round? They beat the Islanders again. This time, I think it was in 5. Yeah, 6. There are 5 or 6 games. They beat the Islanders. Amazing, great. Then they come in against New Jersey. New Jersey looks like another team that could be an overachieving core. Carolina is the team that finally has a team that turns out was just playing better than they were against. Was the team that revealed that. They did a great job counteracting their speed by flipping the puck in the zone and neutralizing, like completely getting rid of the neutral zone game. And then they run into Sergei Bobrovsky and they can't score. This year, look amazing. Get past the Islanders in 5. Okay, this time it doesn't even look uglier than it should. They show that they're a significantly better team than the Islanders. Make you question if there's even 2 teams. Game 1 comes out, they play good, they get outplayed by the Rangers, they come back even stronger. Some of their flaws in the first round show up here, some of their flaws, and then they get goal lead in Game 2. And it's going to be this, it could be the same story. It's looking like the same story Carolina keeps doing. They constantly get goalied. Jake Gensel should stay. I don't know if he will. Okay, but they need to find guys who can score goals in the playoffs. They had to trade away some sandpaper to do it. They got Nason. Svechnikov is looking amazing. Svechnikov is really becoming the agitator power forward you want him to be rather than the sniper goal scorer I thought he'd be. But that's great. Great player to have in the playoffs. He's been a playoff performer this playoff run. Um, but Natchez is coming into his prime, not shying away from the hits, playing better in the playoffs, has a point. Seth Jarvis has gotten even better. Aho is a stud in the playoffs. They got Gensel, and it's the same story. They cannot score on elite goalies in the playoffs. They get Igored. It is unbelievable how many forward steps it looked like this team took, only for me to come back here and say the power play was bad, the penalty kill was bad, and also the goaltending was bad. And here's the thing. You could blame Rod Brind'Amour, like his failure to adapt to the special teams and stuff, but based on Tom Dundon's negotiation, you got to keep Brind'Amour. And like I'm biased because I grew up on Rod Brind'Amour. Rod Brind'Amour is my favorite player. But if like Rod Brind'Amour is in the team to get this team to win a Stanley Cup, he isn't. I'm being reactionary right now. I think Rod Brind'Amour will win a cup with the team. However, just take a look at Rod Brind'Amour's track record. He's got to fire his power play coach and his penalty kill coach, and he's got to adapt to the special teams of the team he's playing. And, but also on the Rod Brind'Amour issue, who are you going to get that's a better coaching than Rod Brind'Amour for the money you want? Rod Brind'Amour is one of the best coaches in the league. He's willing to take a hometown discount. He will always be beloved by the fans because he's the reason this team is still in North Carolina. He's probably the main reason because he's a legit draw for Raleigh faithful. So you have Rod Brind'Amour, hometown team discount, one of the best coaches in the league, wants to stay here, is willing to take a pay cut. Literally all over the arena is him winning a Stanley Cup in not this jersey specifically, but in a Hurricanes jersey as the captain on a playoff run where he got a lot of clutch goals. There's not going to be, for the budget, a better coach. If you don't re-sign Brind'Amour to get a better coach, great. Maybe, or who knows, maybe Tim Gleason, who's been kind of groomed by Rod Brind'Amour and his coaching staff, is able to come in and become a great coach. Great. If that happens, great. But as of right now, there is not a better coach for the job, given his history with the franchise, than Rod Brind'Amour. And I think Rod Brind'Amour would eventually come back to Carolina. But it's the same thing over and over again. And that whenever they run into an elite team with an elite goalie, I wouldn't say choked this year. Last year was a choke because they couldn't score on Bobrovsky. And they should have beaten Florida. They were a better team up and down than Florida, except they couldn't score. This year the Rangers are a wagon, and it's probably them versus Dallas or Edmonton to win the cup if they get past Carolina, which based on this game, it's looking like it's the same story. It's just insane to me. If Carolina was scoring, but they were giving up more goals, it would be a little bit different. It would be a little bit less frustrating. But it's the same old shit. But the good news is it's only game 2. They haven't lost a game on home ice. They have to win both their games on home ice, but it's not impossible. It's going to be hard. Take it a game at a time. Win game 3 on home ice, and that's all you got to worry about. It's hockey. It's playoff hockey. Redemption's around the corner. That's it for this one. Hopefully, better result to be happy about tomorrow or on Thursday. See you guys then.